This is the Strand, one of the best known roads in London. Here, every day, thousands of people work in financial institutions, making thousands, if not millions of pounds a week for the companies for which they work. My daughter was married just across the road just a few weeks ago. At night time, this road is full of the homeless, the destitute. One of the biggest food kitchens run by the local Gurdwara happens just here, feeding the poor and the hungry. What's the link between the two? Is there any? Should there be? Jesus tells a story, it's the sort of third story in a series of three, about people who waste money. Prodigal son wastes his dad's money. The shrewd servant wastes his boss money. The rich man in this story wastes his own money. Jesus tells this story. It's a Middle East tradition about pearly gates and all the rest of it. It comes to us as a piece of stand-up comedy in today's society. Jesus tells this story about a rich man and a guy called Lazarus. The rich man is having a whale of a time. Got more money than he knows what to do with. Every day, no, doesn't even stop for a Sabbath. Every day he's partying hard, impressing people. The message is, I got money. Outside his gate, there's a guy called Lazarus. The rich man knows he's there, even knows his name. Lazarus is in big trouble. The community had to carry him to the gates. Anyway, the rich man and Lazarus, by coincidence, die at the same time. Lazarus can't afford a funeral, so he gets transported to heaven. The rich man has all the pomp and circumstance of a burial. And then, on the other side of life, this conversation happens. Lazarus is in the company of Abraham, and the rich man is a long way off. And a conversation starts up between the rich man and Abraham. Lazarus is dignified and silent. And basically the conversation goes along the lines of, any chance of a favour, says the rich man. Can you get me a drink of water? Send Lazarus, he's a waiter type. All right, if you won't send some water, send a messenger. Send Lazarus as a messenger to my family. Tell them not to make the same mistakes I've made. Abraham simply says to the rich man, do you know what? In life, you had it all, but you decided that it was all yours to do what you like with. Lazarus had nothing. And you still can't recognise Lazarus for who he is. Someone created in the image of God, just like you. Someone who is loved by God, just like you. Somebody who deserves compassion. And within the story, Lazarus, by his silence, shows compassion to the rich man. The story isn't about what happens when you die. The story is about what is our relationship with other people and what do we do with our resources. So, this stuff, is it all mine? I've got it out of the cash point this morning. Can I do what I like with it? Well, yeah, I can. But what does God think about those things? What should I be doing with my resources? What's my responsibility to those poor people just over the other side of this camera who haven't got one of those notes, a part of one of those notes? They have what they stand up in, and that's about it. The story that Jesus tells prompts a conversation about poverty. Poverty which wears all sorts of different clothes. A poverty of theology. These slick statements of make Jesus your choice and drive a Rolls Royce. rubbish, it's poor, and it's not worth the paper it's written on. It's a story about poverty that wears global clothes. This week, COP26 meets and discusses what the future looks like and begs the question, what is our responsibility to the poor in the world, and what's our responsibility to the next generation? Dave, it's too big to think of. Well, what will you do? What's the one small thing that you will do this week? That's what the story provokes. What about local poverty? Who will you see this week in your neighbourhood that in actual fact is created just like you and needs your compassion? Lastly, what about my own personal poverty? What if I am secretly like the rich man and that my attitude stinks, that I lack compassion, that when I see people or encounter people that are different to me, I fail to see that they are created in the image of God, that they are people for whom Christ died? What do I learn from the story? Simple. I've got to do life differently. I need to do life differently with the resources I have. This isn't just mine. What I do with it has bigger implications. I need to do life differently. I need to recognise my mistakes, say sorry to the people that I've hurt. That's what the story means that Jesus tells about this rich man and Lazarus.